Relationship issues among youth can vary widely, but some common ones include communication problems, trust issues, conflicts over values or priorities, lack of independence or autonomy, jealousy, and difficulties with commitment or long-distance relationships. Additionally, issues like peer pressure, societal expectations, and navigating social media can also impact relationships amongst young people. Welcome, and thank you so much for joining us on another interesting episode of Youth Connect on Trust TV. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. Now, I have with me in the studio Gidado Shuaib. He is the CEO News Digest. Thank you so much for joining us,
Thank you
Gidado.
very much.
And Nnamdi Nelson is a sports lawyer. Thank you so much, Nnamdi, for joining
Thanks for
us.
having me.
And then we have joining us all the way from Lagos via Zoom, Janet Theresa. She's a serial entrepreneur. Thank you so much for joining us, Janet.
Thank you very much.
Okay, Gidado, let me come to you with this first question, but then we can all add up to what he's going to say. What do you think is the major or the cause of most of the problems that our youths are facing, especially when it comes to relationships?
Thank you so much, Fatima.
Thank you.
And I think it's a hard blow that you're starting with me. I thought we were going to start from rights.
Yeah, but then I would like to start with you.
So yeah, starting off in the second. And I think, thank you for that question. I think as young people, we're all created to have some form of relationship, irrespective of who is it with. Do you understand? But we have varying types of relationship. You have with your mom, you have with your friend, you have with your imam, you have with, so everybody has. But talking about what young people, what affect relationship most is expectations. I think when you're forming a relationship with somebody, you have already put up your mind to what they should give you already. And I think that is where the crisis most usually come from. Because once your expectations are not met, it leads to disappointment. And when disappointment comes, it leads to some form of resentment. So I think if there's an understanding of, if you're meeting me, I don't have anything to offer. You're accepting me for who I am. I think that there won't be a much crisis as we're facing. But yeah, so I think that's my point.
In your own opinion. So let's come back
Yeah.
to you, Nnamdi. In your own opinion, what do you think is the major cause of relationship issues
In Nigeria
with youth?
today, with youth? Okay, first, from what I see on social media, I think the first problem is the economy.
Okay.
It has affected every single aspect of our lives, including relationships.
Okay.
So you see, because of economic expectations maybe from both parties, it leads to some kind of resentment. When you don't meet expectations, it causes frustration on both sides. I think that's the first issue we have. Then apart from that, you have pressure from social media, like you mentioned. People see they have a picture they have painted of how a relationship should be.
Yeah.
And if their relationship does not look like that, they start feeling like it's not working, it's not where it's supposed to be. Forgetting that they are little. We actually ignore the important things that lead to happiness in this country, and it won't be. I see it as the bigger picture. In Nigeria now, many people, it's almost unsafe to do like road trips, take walks, those little romantic things that actually it has become a luxury for us in Nigeria. So the other things that make relationships sweet are things that have to do with money and the economy. And the economy is bad again. So I think that's where it's a bigger problem. It's a bigger societal.
Lot of idea, and in Nnamdi's head, thinking of trips and taking a walk in beachside. That's what you're talking about.
That's what I'm talking about. These things are luxury for us in Nigeria now. We can't do it anymore. You go to Lagos, the beaches are closed. It's not just convenient. But abroad, you can just let's take a walk down the road. What you see alone, it makes it sweeter. You get me?
Okay, Janet, let me come to you. You can hear what Gidado and Nnamdi said. What's your own take? What are the causes of relationship issues, especially with our young people?
Inconsistency.
Okay.
Like say for a guy and a girl, when you want to start the relationship, there's a talking stage where they get to call you like 2-3 times a day and all of that. They get to check up on you, ask about stuff that you love to do, and all of these things. And then you start liking this boy or this girl because of this interest that they have in you. And then boom, you're not in a relationship. 2 months into the relationship, 3 months, they become bored, and then they start changing. And it feels like you are in a relationship with a total stranger. And I think this has a very huge part to play in the issues we are having today in our relationships.
Okay. So Nnamdi, would you say communication is also one aspect, just like Janet rightly mentioned, the talking stage is when you communicate more with your loved ones because you're just getting to know this person, So do you think the commitment or the lack of communication also adds up to the problem that we are facing?
Of course, communication is like the first thing. You can't communicate with somebody, you can't say you love them, you can't even say you like them. So I feel like there are too many mismatched relationships. Because when there's a good match, the first thing that you should see is I'm able to talk to this person, I'm able to communicate to this person, I can bear myself to this person. If you don't have that, trust me, I don't think you like the person, and you should move on. It's that simple for me. Communication comes easy when you actually like the person, and there are things that could lead to break down the communication. That's maybe when things like maybe infidelity comes into the picture. There are so many things that could break down communication. But in the beginning, if you find that you can't speak to somebody, you can't bear your mind to somebody, I think that's where you should end from the beginning. When you find that you're having to hide yourself a lot.
Yeah. Okay, so Gidado, what do you think can be done, for youth to improve in their communication skills, especially with their relationship? Because it's a big problem. The communication really matters because that's when you get to express yourself to the person you are dating. It could be your wife, it could be your friend. It could be anybody. There's this fear that maybe they will not listen to you. What do you think can be done to improve that?
I think it's consistency. If you're consistent with your actions, they're definitely obvious points. Like they become, even if you have change in faces, but if you're consistent in doing what you're supposed to do, then either ways you will have an understanding, because humans have faces. So irrespective of anything, if you're understanding and you're consistent, like it takes time for relationships to form proper. So if you're patient and you're consistent, I think your communications, the first thing that happens between humans is communication. So communication is a gap that you must always try to make sure that it's positive, because you can have two types of communication. Even if you guys don't talk, it's the negative communication, but it's a communication, because what exists between both of you is communication. So I think if there's consistency in positive actions, then yeah.
Okay, Janet, do you agree with what Gidado just said? Consistency can actually, make communication work for young people. Do you believe in that?
Yes, I do. I believe in that a whole lot, because if you're consistent with your actions, there is this faith that you have in your partner when you know that if you call them for this thing, they'll be there for you. I mean, like, say you need to complete an assignment and he has always been there helping you to complete. If there's an issue that he won't be available for the next phase of that your assignment, like he's supposed to communicate with you, right? He's supposed to tell you, oh, Jane, I'm not going to be here today. I have this thing that I need to do. If you already know that he's not going to be there, when he doesn't help you this time, you would understand. Instead of ghosting you and, not putting you in the know, and then boom, he goes off. So I agree totally with him. Consistency is actually very, very helpful when it comes to relationships.
Okay, so Janet, as a lady, right, in this conversation we are having, what would you say? Would you say what are the things that men are doing wrong, especially with their relationships and with their partners?
Okay, these days I feel a lot of men generalize a lot when it comes to relationship. They believe a lot of the ladies, like a whole bunch of them believe the ladies are actually not ready to be in committed relationships. And you cannot just judge people based on what is happening right now. I've seen a lot of good girls, I've seen a lot of, otherwise, and I just feel the men should give those women a chance before judging them. And times have changed. We are not like our mothers. We've seen life in a different way. Before now, ladies were not allowed to go to school. Now we've gone to school, and it's not like before where you do not know anything, and when the man says sit, even if it is wrong, you sit. Now these days, a wise woman would actually tell the man that, oh, it's not okay to sit at this time because this A, Z is going to happen. Now, the men, I just feel like they are not giving the women chances to be positively present in their life.
Would you say oppression plays a role in this aspect?
Pardon?
Would you say oppression plays a role in this aspect from what you're saying?
Oppression. To an extent, this brings us to upbringing, right? Mm-hmm. Some of us grew up in homes where our fathers were like kings. They have good kings and they have kings that are, I don't know if they are good or should I say they are uptight, and they don't give their children a say. They do not give their subjects a say in the matters that has to do with the kingdom. So we bring that to the home, right? You grew up with a father that was king and nobody could, say anything. Once he makes a decision, it stands. When he comes home, everybody goes into hiding and all of that. If you grow up in that kind of an environment, it is actually going to be difficult for you to actually, do right in a relationship in this our time.
Okay.
Because, this is how you grew up. You were formed in this way that your children the kids and your mom could not say anything whilst growing up because you had that kind of a dad. And now we can tell that pressure.
Yeah.
No freedom of speech, you cannot express yourself and all of that. So I think it has a role to play, and I can term it oppression.
All right, so Nnamdi, what would you say, or would you add to what Janet just said? Would you say women are also doing the right thing in their relationships?
I wouldn't say everyone is doing the right thing. I think, like what I said before, I think there are a lot of mismatches. Like, I know sometimes men find themselves in relationships that they didn't even plan to have. Maybe the communications get misread. So you find yourself in a relationship that you never really wanted to be in the first place, but you just try to wing it. And for men, we don't wing it. If a man loves a woman, he loves a woman. If he doesn't love a woman, he doesn't love a woman. Men don't grow in love. Women can't grow in love, or men don't grow in love. So I feel from the beginning, that's the first part. Men should be more honest with themselves. Be more honest with themselves. Like, I want to be with this person. Why do I want to be with this person? Am I just here because I have to be here? If you answer those questions yourself truthfully, then you get to the next step. And for women, I think women give themselves too much credit as being emotionally intelligent. That's my honest opinion.
That's your opinion.
Yes, yeah. I think they give themselves too much credit. Sometimes women also do not know what they want. They find themselves in relationships that they should not be in, that they're with a guy that does not really fit their description of their perfect, of their ideal man, or not at all, but they still try to wing it. So I think that matching and mismatch, that's where the problem starts from. If the beginning is faulty, then I don't know how it's going to be at the end or in the middle. So we need to get that first part right. That's for me. Yeah.
Now that brings us back to communication. But then let's not forget, from my opening, I talked about commitment. I talked about jealousy. Gidado, what would you say jealousy plays in the lives of our youth, especially with their relationships or with their, friendships with other people, or their, should I say, their relationship with other people?
You see, I think jealousy comes from a fact when you can't probably acquire something. So if you're so for someone who understands life to some extent, I think if you want to get to a position, anybody that is there, you idolize him. Do you understand? If you like the way your parents' love is, if you like the way someone gets to a position, do you understand? Somebody is there and you want to be there, you have to idolize it. Only if you feel you don't have a hope to get there, that's when you should wake up and be feeling, that's when you should come and be jealous of it. I think if you really want to attain something and you want to get, like for instance, now somebody is richer than you, I want to be rich as well. You won't pray for him not to fail, because you want to be there as well. And you will live off goodwill and mindset and intentions. Once you have a positive mindset towards the next person, then you see that you also move in the right direction. So I think that's my own point on jealousy.
Okay, thank you so much. Let's go on a quick break. When we come back, the discussion will continue. Welcome back. If you're just joining, this is Youth Connect coming to you from our studios right here in the nation's capital. Okay, so before we went on break, Janet, if you're with us, we were talking about jealousy, you know, what jealousy plays, the role it plays in a relationship. How do you think that can be managed? How do you think jealousy can be managed in our relationships?
So jealousy in a relationship, I think a tiny bit of jealousy is healthy, right? It becomes not so healthy when you are jealous about everything. Say you're jealous about the friends to the boy or the girl. I don't know. You're jealous of, sometimes some people can even be jealous of the sisters of the guy. They can be jealous of his mom, the way he's devoted to loving his mom and his siblings. So, and I think these are issues that we all should notice from talking stage. I'm a very big fan of talking stage. I can be in talking stage with you for like 6 months, just to know you, your beliefs, your perception about life. Because, I mean, when a person is your friend, they tend not to hide a whole lot of stuff from you. From friendship, you get to know what you need in a person and what you would not take. So I feel like this jealousy thing is something that would have been, sorted out from the talking stage. But let's say you didn't sort that out because, of course, you're already in love with this person and then you guys are now in a relationship. And jealousy, I don't know, jealousy is one thing that I think a lot of people do not know how to deal with. It could actually end the relationship because sometimes jealousy can lead to obsession, you know that, and it might get very, very risky.
Okay.
So when it comes to jealousy, and sometimes I feel like it is inborn and there's nothing you can do about it sometimes.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Janet. But Nnamdi, how do you think jealousy can be addressed in this form, in this discussion that we're having? Because, you know, we are talking to the youth now for them to take lessons from either our experience or from other people's experience. So how do you think jealousy can be addressed? Because it leads to certain things in a relationship, you know, because you may not be able to hold back certain things without asking questions, or maybe you don't even trust your partner enough, you know, so you can go into jealousy without even knowing what is really going on. So how do you think that can be addressed?
Exactly what we spoke about in the first place, communication. I think that if you are with somebody and you're able to communicate your feelings to that person, how you feel, then that's the first step. In a relationship, I see something that there's no emotion, there's no feeling that is not valid. No matter if you think about something, no matter irrationally. That's why it's a relationship. I'm not supposed to come and be a logical thinker. I'm not supposed to be a lawyer in my relationship. I'm supposed to be able to be vulnerable with you. So if I see something, I get jealous. I'm supposed to be able to talk about it with you. And what I expect from my partner at that point is reassurance. And that's how I feel it should be addressed. Communication, reassurance.
Okay, Gidado, how about you? Because I feel trust actually plays a vital role, you know, in reducing the level of jealousy you may have in your relationship with your partner. So, what do you think can be done?
No, I think when it comes to the context of relationship, I think it's the most thing that must be is respect. Once you have a respect, just the way Nnamdi said, no emotions is invalid. So if you respect your partner, then you will certainly not do certain stuff that would make them feel some type of way. And once you're opened and being as much vulnerable that you can be, and you guys are honest with each other, I think you guys will form a beautiful bond. So I think for me, respect is the one way for you to manage counter jealousy among your partners and how people can manage themselves.
Okay, Janet, let me throw this question to you, okay? How can youths navigate conflict over values or priorities with their partners?
Communication. Values, okay. Before you get into a relationship here, you are supposed to, both parties are supposed to study themselves. These are like first date, second date questions that you ask each other. When you ask these questions and you are compatible belief-wise, value-wise, like, I don't think those things will be issues in the relationship. It becomes issues when you do not, talk about these things in your talking stage. And, you just went with your feelings and you got into the relationship, and then you start dealing with these values. Now that you're in a relationship and feelings are flying everywhere, and I don't know, you don't do anything without your emotions anymore. So I think the issue with value, I think it's the talking stage. issue.
So let me also throw this question to you. How about peer pressure? You know, that affects relationship as well. How do you think we can can be managed as well?
I think personally, peer pressure goes hand in hand with self-esteem. I'll say it this way because personally, from a personal point of view, I am not someone that is easily pressured, because I do not believe that anything happening around me is 100% true. Like, you could see people that just fought inside and then they came outside and they're all happy. They get back inside and they fight. And you are a stranger, you see these two people and you just assume that, oh, everything is going well. And then you now, I don't know, attribute them to your partner. You get? Mm-hmm. You don't live life based on people's, what you see outside. It's never actually what goes on inside. And then, I don't know, the youth of nowadays, yeah, I just feel a whole lot of us are very, very unrealistic when it comes to relationships. Because you could see a relationship of 5 years, you do not know what these people have gone through, and then you just started your own relationship and you want it to be as rosy and as sweet as the one you're saying that has been there for 5 years. And I think contentment is, I don't know, I just feel the solution to peer pressure is contentment. Once you're content with what you have, whilst trying to make it better, I think it solves a whole lot of questions regarding peer pressure. I think contentment is the word. You should be content with what you have whilst trying to make it better, and not look at other people's relationship to use to measure the yardstick of yours. That's what I think. That's what I feel.
Okay, so let me throw this question to you, Nnamdi. Social media, you mentioned earlier, has a way of impacting on young people's relationship, especially with our generation, with the Gen Zs and the millennials and what have you. How do you think that can be managed? Because it has a way of playing and impacting on the young people's lives.
Like you said, contentment, shut out the noise. Just shut out the noise, focus on your partner. You have things that attracted to this person in the first place. Stick to that, keep focusing on the good side. If there's something you feel your partner is lacking based on your initial expectation, communicate it to them. But looking at something on social media that has been painted in a particular way to suit a particular narrative will not help anybody. So I just encourage people to focus on their partner, the positive side of the relationship always, keep feeding it and it will keep growing instead of focusing on social media.
Okay, so Gidado, let me hear from you. What are the healthy ways to manage and maintain a relationship, for long-term purposes?
Also, I'll first start with the social media conversation about, I think social media now creates the pop culture, like the popular culture, the popular values. Like, you see a fine house and you want it for you and your partner, so they form us, but you have to be wise what you pick out of it. You have to be able to sieve the information, even though I understand that the algorithm of social media always shows you what is similar to what you like. So if you're a person who goes about looking for a relationship that has wars, you find it there. Like, the logic will draw around it. If you're a person who is looking for a smart relationship with prayers and all, you find it there. There's a logic around it, just like when you go on TikTok for the first time and you're spending 20 hours on it, all of a sudden from nowhere. So there's this, it's a pop culture, but you have to see what you take out of it to form out of your relationship. There are certain things you learn there that you apply in your real lifetime, and it comes out to be well. So it's not everything that you shut out. You also pick some certain good part of it, because it forms us. We can't lie, it's how generations were before. It's totally different from how it is now.
Generation,
do you understand? Like, okay, for there's the example, there's a conversation Janet brought in that so a lot of people grow in families where you see they can't speak to their dad, but it was a time. Do you understand? Now people are partners in their relationship. So I think it's a psychic that we all adopt to. Children now wake up, a 5-year-old child is now using the phone.
Yes.
So it's there's the reawakening. People now grow past those stages. It's just an understanding and maturity of life to grow with the evolution. So your question now.
Yeah, so I get your message. It means that with time, people can grow past certain things that can work for them.
Yes.
With relationships, communication with their partners, parents, and what have you. Okay, so Nnamdi, long distance relationship plays a role in some of the situations or problems that our young people are facing in their relationships, because, you know, you may see someone you like far away from you. Jealousy can creep in as well at this point. So what, in your own experience, what advice will you give the young people that are in a long distance relationship? Because it will mess with their mental health. You know, you want to know what your partner is doing, but you don't have access to them at some certain point. So what's your take, or what advice will you give?
First of all, before anyone goes into a long distance relationship, they need to be aware of certain things. That's not easy. You need to check it's like going on a trip. You need to prepare for the trip, pack your things, get your itinerary right. That's how long distance relationship is, in my opinion. It's not like it requires more effort. It requires more patience. It requires more trust. So as long as the person is aware of this before going into it, and knows that some days are going to be really difficult, you're going to have to do things that people do in person over the phone. You have to ask yourself, is this person worth it? For me, the person has to be worth it, not just worth it 10 times worth it before I go on that kind of journey for. So I think that being honest with yourself, it's a good start. Yeah.
So it means don't cut your coat according to your size. I think that's what you're saying. Okay, Janet, in your own experience, what advice will you give young people who are facing some certain problems in their relationships, and what they can do to manage and address those issues?
Okay, communication is the bedrock of every relationship. So I just want to tell the young people that if you feel a certain way towards your partner, communicate in the most nicest way possible. Because there is a tone that you use to communicate that also leads to multiple ripple misunderstandings. So I feel we should communicate feelings in the most loving way possible.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
And we should work purposely. Like, we should actually, I don't know how to put this, but I feel we should be very, very intentional about our partners, about our relationship. Because there are a lot of unserious people out there. So if you're a serious person and you want your relationship to work, you should be very, very intentional about it and make it work in the most possible and loving way possible.
All right. Thank you so much, Janet, for joining us from Lagos. Janet, Theresa, a serial entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being on the show with us today.
Thank you very much. It's such a pleasure.
And thank you so much, Gidado, for being on the show. Nnamdi, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
For honoring my invitation. I really do appreciate it. Well, this is the much we can take on the show today, but do join us again next week for another insightful conversation with the youth. In case you missed this episode, catch us across our social media handles. I am Fatima Ahmed Musa. Bye for now.